I'm sorry, Mr. Henderson, but your account has been flagged for irregular activity and is temporarily frozen pending review, the bank teller said, her voice carrying the polished monotone of corporate apathy. Thomas Henderson, 70, a widower and decorated military veteran, felt a chill coil in his gut. He needed that money to pay his late wife's overdue medical expenses. Irregular activity. The only unusual thing is my pension being deposited like it has for the past 30 years. The teller merely handed over a printed receipt with a generic support number. 15 minutes later, as Thomas sat disheartened on a bench outside, the bank's serene calm was shattered by the arrival of grim-looking individuals flashing government badges. If you believe banks should serve, not sabotage, our veterans, type accountability below. Thomas Henderson lived a life of routine and quiet honor. His modest, perfectly maintained bungalow, the one he'd shared with his beloved Clara until she passed 2 years ago after a prolonged illness, reflected his disciplined nature. His days followed a rhythm: early walks, tending Clara's rose garden, volunteering at the town library, and managing his modest military pension with utmost care. That pension, earned through 3 decades of devoted service as a chief warrant officer focused on advanced encryption and secure communication, was his anchor. It paid the mortgage, the utilities, and more recently, the steep costs left behind from Clara's final days. Bills he was determined to clear. He wasn't rich, but he was responsible, proud of his financial independence. He'd never bounced a check or missed a payment. His finances, like his military record, were founded on order and accountability. The so-called unusual activity that triggered the freeze was ironically just the standard direct deposit of his pension. Perhaps a few dollars more this time due to a cost of living bump. He had gone to the downtown location of Sterling National Bank, his bank for over 4 decades, to withdraw funds to cover the last major hospice invoice for Clara. It was a solemn task, but one he needed to finish to move forward. He expected a routine transaction. He expected dignity. He got neither. The bank's lobby resembled a shrine to capitalism: marble tiles, towering ceilings, ambient lighting, and the quiet clatter of keyboards. Thomas stepped up to the teller window, handing over his withdrawal slip and debit card. The teller, a young woman named Sarah with manicured nails and a detached air of competence, began processing his request. He watched her eyes narrow at the screen. Pause. Frown. "Just a moment, sir," she said before vanishing into a back room. Minutes dragged by. Thomas waited calmly, though a knot of anxiety began to form. Sarah returned, her face carefully composed, holding a printed slip. "Mr. Henderson," she began, avoiding his gaze, "your account has been flagged by our central monitoring system due to irregular activity. All funds have been temporarily locked. The account is frozen." Thomas was stunned. "Frozen? Why? What sort of irregular activity?" "I just need to pay a medical invoice." Sarah slid the slip toward him. "The system doesn't provide branch-level details, sir. It's an automatic security flag. The number listed here connects to our fraud and verification unit. You'll need to call them to address the issue. Reviews typically take 3 to 5 business days." 3 to 5 days? Thomas echoed in disbelief, anger rising, though he quickly reined it in. "Young lady, that invoice is due tomorrow. My pension went in this morning. There's nothing strange about that. Can't you verify my ID? Look at the deposit record." Sarah shook her head, her tone cooling into that memorized rhythm of policy. "I don't have the authority to override a security lock, sir. All cases must go through the number provided. It's for your protection." "My protection?" Thomas repeated, appalled. "This isn't protecting me. It's hurting me. This is money I earned through a lifetime of service." The branch manager, Mr. Davies, a heavy-set man in a snug suit, overheard the exchange and shuffled over. "Is there an issue here, Sarah?" She recapped the situation, stressing the system flag and bank procedures. Mr. Davies listened, then turned to Thomas with a sympathetic look that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Mr. Henderson, I understand your frustration, but our security processes are rigid. These kinds of holds are triggered by automated systems designed to combat fraud. Sarah's correct. You'll need to contact the appropriate department. He tapped the slip. Calling that number is your best bet. He offered no additional help, no internal escalation, just a redirect to a faceless department. Thomas felt a cold, helpless fury. He knew how these hotlines worked: long waits, canned answers, shuffled from one voice to another. Rarely was there a quick fix. Clara's bill. He couldn't let it go unpaid. That would dishonor her memory. He took the slip, his spirit dimming. "I understand," he said quietly, his voice hollow. "Thank you for your time." He exited the bank and sat on a nearby bench under its towering glass front, the paper crumpled in his palm. He felt small, crushed beneath the weight of the institution's indifference. He glanced at the helpline number, then at his old, well-worn cell phone. He could call, spend hours pleading with anonymous voices. He recalled another kind of number, a different process. Years ago, during a classified multi-agency operation, when sensitive payments were blocked by civilian banks unfamiliar with their context, his team was given a special contact within the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCAN, a red line channel meant for immediate intervention in banking disruptions affecting government assets or personnel. He hadn't used it in over 10 years, wasn't even sure if the channel still worked or if his code still had clearance. But right now, with his pension frozen unjustly and a time-sensitive, vital payment pending, it seemed exactly what that protocol was created for. It was a risk. He scrolled through his contacts and found the entry. Tazon Omega Clearance. He dialed. The phone rang once. A calm, efficient voice answered. "FinCEN, secure line. Authenticate." Thomas inhaled. "Henderson Thomas, Chief Warrant Officer, retired, Alpha Sigma 9000, requesting urgent review of account freeze. Sterling National Bank, Branch 0477. Account ending 4281. Pension deposit flagged as irregular activity. Urgent transaction pending." There was a rapid tapping of keys on the other end. "Hold the line, Mr. Henderson." Less than half a minute went by, an eternity to Thomas. Then, "Authentication confirmed, Mr. Henderson. Your prior service qualifies you for priority handling of any financial issues connected to federal disbursements. Please stay near the bank. A response team is being dispatched to your location. Estimated arrival, under 15 minutes. They will contact you directly." The call ended. Thomas stared at his phone, a strange mix of disbelief and faint hope stirring inside him. A response team? What had he just set in motion? He just waited. The crumpled support slip forgotten in his pocket. Inside Sterling National Bank, the day rolled on. Sarah, the teller, had already moved on to her next customer. The moment with the old man and his frozen account already drifting from short-term memory. Mr. Davies, the manager, sat in his office, likely feeling satisfied at having diffused a potentially difficult client by sticking to policy. The wall clock ticked 10 minutes since Thomas's call, then 12. Thomas kept watching the entrance, a strange calm overtaking him. He had done what he could. The rest wasn't his to carry. At precisely 14 minutes after the call, 2 unmarked sedans with federal plates eased up to the curb, ignoring the no parking signage. 4 individuals, 3 men, 1 woman, stepped out dressed in sleek, dark suits that couldn't hide their alert professional presence. Their unified movements spoke of federal training. As they neared the entrance, the woman in charge, Agent Carter, briefly flashed a gold badge. The surprised security guards stepped aside instantly. The team entered the bank's lobby, not with drama, but with a silent authority that changed the entire tone. Conversations faded. Tellers paused. Agent Carter scanned the lobby, then headed straight to the branch manager's glass office. Mr. Davies looked up, startled, as the group entered without knocking. "Can I help you?" he asked, tinged with irritation. Agent Carter placed her ID firmly on the desk. "Special Agent Carter, U.S. Treasury Department, FinCEN. This is Agent Miller, Agent Rodriguez, and Agent Lee. We're here under a federal warrant to access all documentation relating to account number She read out Thomas's account info. And to conduct an immediate review of this branch's adherence to regulations regarding direct federal deposits, especially veteran pensions under the Fair Banking for Veterans Act. Davis's face fell. Federal warrants? Veterans Act. I don't understand. You will, Agent Carter replied coolly. We've received a valid report suggesting systemic failures and possible discriminatory actions related to freezing a veteran's account containing approved federal pension payments. We expect your full cooperation, Mr. Davies. The other agents had already dispersed, one to the teller counters, another to the server room, alongside a technician from their team who arrived separately. The bank's routine morning had just been formally and thoroughly disrupted. Sarah, the teller, looked up with dread as one of the agents approached. Miss Miller, I assume? Agent Rodriguez asked politely but firmly. I'll need all transaction logs and system flags linked to Mr. Thomas Henderson's account from the past 72 hours, including internal messages tied to the account freeze decision. Pale and shaking, Sarah began to comply, her earlier certainty now gone. She suddenly remembered the elderly man she'd brushed off, the one in worn clothes with a quiet voice. She remembered his firm words about the deposit being real, his pension. She recalled saying, "There's nothing I can do." She now understood just how deeply mistaken she'd been. Meanwhile, Agent Carter pressed Mr. Davies inside his office. Her questions were clear, exact, and backed by a command of regulation he only vaguely grasped. She cited portions of the Fair Banking for Veterans Act requiring fast-track handling of accounts receiving direct VA or military pension funds, especially for urgent needs like healthcare costs. Your 3 to 5 business days review policy for flagged pension deposits, she said flatly, violates Section 7, Paragraph B, which requires immediate in-house escalation and resolution within 4 hours for veteran-designated accounts. What's more, your failure to verify or offer alternative solutions in the case of a legitimate federal disbursement constitutes a significant compliance failure. Mr. Davies muttered about system automation and company rules, but his objections crumbled under Agent Carter's steady pressure. Outside, Thomas was approached by Agent Lee. Mr. Henderson. I'm Agent Lee, FinCEN. Agent Carter asked me to inform you that the hold on your account has been lifted. Effective now, your funds are accessible. We regret the trouble caused by the bank's procedural mishap. Thomas felt a wave of relief so strong, it almost made his knees give out. Thank you, Agent. Truly, thank you. We're also making sure the bank covers any late penalties you may have incurred on your medical bill due to this delay, Agent Lee added. There will be a full assessment of their internal compliance and veteran account procedures. Thomas nodded, speechless. He hadn't expected such intervention. He just wanted to pay tribute to Clara. He had unintentionally triggered a federal investigation. The FinCEN team remained at Sterling National for hours, carefully auditing documents, questioning personnel, and cataloging multiple regulatory violations. By the time they left, Mr. Davies looked ghostly. Sarah had been reprimanded and assigned mandatory retraining. The bank faced sizable fines and would now be under tight scrutiny. Thomas Henderson, with his account reinstated, quietly settled Clara's last medical bill that afternoon. He returned home, tended her roses, and sat on the porch, processing the whirlwind of that day. He hadn't aimed to unleash federal firepower on his neighborhood bank. He had just followed a system designed to shield veterans from the very red tape he encountered. The flag transaction, his legitimate pension. The real anomaly that day was how swiftly and thoroughly the system worked, for once for someone like him, a man who spent his life in service. Sterling National Bank later released a public apology, without naming Thomas, promising improvements in how it served veterans. They launched new staff training and revised account flagging protocols. Thomas never got a personal apology from Sarah or Mr. Davies, but he didn't need one. The system had stepped up. His account stayed open. His pension arrived each month without issue. And in a quiet government building, somewhere within FinCEN, a case file was updated. A small win for accountability, marked and noted, making sure the next veteran needing access to their benefits wouldn't be met with cold policy and a dead-end phone number, but with respect and the kind of urgent help they'd earned. Because sometimes the quietest voices, armed with the right codes, can make the most powerful impact. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in accountability and in ensuring our veterans get the seamless access to benefits they rightfully earned.